Nabalaba Girivaradari Yasodanandana Bragadanarandana Kamunakira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Thakur ki jai, Prem Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopira Shama Kunda Radha Kali Giri Govardhan ki jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadap Dham ki jai, Gang Shamona Salasi Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Go Premananda. All glory to some of the Lords, all glory to some of the Lords, all glory to some of the Lords, all glory to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glory to Sri Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishnu Buddhave Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastaspadesha Tadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasmi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1. Shri Sukha Uvacha Kamastu Vasudev Amso Dagda Pragrudra Manuna Deho Papataye Bhuyas Tameva Pratyapadyata. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sukadev Goswami said, Kama, Cupid, true, and Avasudeva, of Lord Vasudeva. Amsa, expansion, Dagda, burn, rock, previously, Rudra, of Lord Shiva. Manuna, by anger, Deha, body, Upapattaye, in order to obtain, Bhuya, again, Tam, to him Lord Vasudeva, Eva, indeed, Prapadya, came back. Oh, there's a mistake. A is missing. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, Kamadeva, or Cupid, an expansion of Vasudeva, had previously been burned to ashes by Rudra's anger. Now, to obtain a new body, he merged back into the body of Lord Vasudeva. Purport. In his Krsna Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami cites the following verse of the Gopal Tapani Upanishad to prove that the Pradumna, who was the son of Krishna and Rukmini, is the same Pradumna who was a member of Lord Krishna's eternal fourfold plenary expansion, the Chatur Vyuha. Yatra so samstita Krishna's trivi sakya samahitaha Ramani Ruda Pradumnyai Rukmanyai Sahito Vibhu. There in Dwarka, the Almighty Lord Krishna, endowed with his full potency, resided in the company of his three plenary expansions, Balaram, Aniruddha, and Pradumna. The Krishna Sandarbha goes on to explain with reference to the present verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Cupid, who Rudra burned up in his anger, is a demigod subordinate to Indra. This demigod Cupid is a partial manifestation of the prototype Cupid, Pradumna, who is a plenary expansion of Vasudeva. The demigod Cupid, being unable to attain a new body on his own, entered within the body of Pradumna. Otherwise, Cupid would have had to remain in a perpetual state of disembodiment, a result of Rudra's having incinerated him with his anger. In his English rendering of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada confirms the absolute status of Pradumna, Lord Krishna's first son. Pradumna and Aniruddha are also expansions of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are also Vishnu Tattva. At Dwarka, Lord Vasudeva is engaged in his transcendental pastimes along with his plenary expansions, namely Sankarshan, Pradumna, and Aniruddha, and therefore each and every one of them can be addressed as the personality of Godhead. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, Pradumna took birth in the womb of Rukmini before Sri Krishna's marriage to Jambavati, and the Lord's other marriages took place. Subsequently, Pradumna returned from Sambara's palace, but before Sukadeva Goswami tells of Krishna's pastimes with his other wives, he will narrate the entire story of Pradumna for the sake of continuity. Sridhar Swami further notes that Kamadeva, or Cupid, now appearing within Pradumna, is a portion of Vasudeva, because he is manifest from the element Chitta, consciousness, which is presided over by Vasudeva, and also because he, Cupid, is the cause of material generation. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, Prajanas Chasmi Kandarpa, of progenitors I am Kandarpa, or Cupid. Translation, Sukadeva Goswami said, Kamadeva, or Cupid, an expansion of Vasudeva, had previously been burned to ashes by Rudra's anger. Now, to obtain a new body, he emerged back into the body of Lord Vasudeva. So, here we have an explanation of expansions and plenary expansions, etc., which normally means that we have the Supreme Lord in different forms, but some of them manifest less powers, but expansion means it's not different from the Lord. It's the same Bhagavan with a different form. Just like Krishna expands himself into 3 billion forms in the Rasa Leela, then they all merge back into one. Or Krishna expands himself into 16,108 forms in Dwarka to be with each of the wives, but still he's one. So the other form is expansion, but a little different. So the Lord expands into different Vishnu forms and different avatar forms, and it's still the same Lord. And they can seem to act independently of each other, even not be aware of each other. Balaram also expansion, and they're all Supreme Lord. So these are called Amsa or Sva Amsa. which simply means an expanded form of the Lord himself, sva meaning himself. On the other hand, we have jivas. They are different. They're also conscious but different. And then we have Shaktivesh avatars. They are not svamsa. They're different. They are also jivas. But they got special powers from the Supreme Lord, and they're eternally in that position, like Narada Muni, and they have spiritual bodies. So we don't call them samsa. We may call them avatar, just as we call Brahma Aguna avatar, even though he's a jiva, because they got special powers given by the Lord. But the Lord himself is different. He's all-powerful, but still, sometimes he manifests less powers, sometimes he manifests more powers. So we have some that manifest very little powers. They're like the sages, like Kapila Dev or Dattatreya. So they don't manifest so much powers, they just teach. Then we have ones that got more power, and we have ones that have more power like this, so, and more qualities. So in this way, there's a classification of the different sva-amsas of the Lord, from lesser to more. But it's all one Lord, so we cannot say he is inferior to that one, etc. But objectively speaking, just like we have rasas, we have Shantarasa and Dasya and Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. So they're all wonderful, they're all spiritual. Still, from objectively, when we look at it, Madhurya Rasa has more intensity in it, and more bliss. So the forms of the Lord are all actually one form, and we can't really differentiate, but still, from the point of view of a manifestation of qualities, etc., and consequently of bliss, we also classify. And at the very top we have Narasimhadev, Rama, and then Krishna at the very top. So they all three manifest more powers that are called Purna Avatar, as compared to the others who manifest less powers. But among the three, then Krishna is called Bhagavan Swayam, because he manifests most powers of all, which means he uniquely manifests powers that others do not manifest, even though we can say they're all one and they all have the powers. They don't manifest. So in this way we classify the forms of God, and we call Krishna the Swayam Rupa, and the other are Swa-amsa. They're amsas, which means part, because partial manifestation of Bhagavan's qualities. So even the Swayam Bhagavan manifests himself differently. So he's called Purnatama, or most perfect, in Vrindavan, and he's called Purnatara in Mathura, and he's called Purna in Dwarka, which means he manifests most qualities of Krishna most intensely in Vrindavan, a little bit less in Mathura, a little bit less in Dwarka. But even the Dwarka Krishna is still superior to the other forms like Rama and Narasimha. So even with Krishna, we also differentiate according to the amounts of powers he manifests. So in one book, I think it is, what's his name? Gyan Chandra Goswami says, okay, Dwarka form, it's 14 out of 16. And Mathura Krishna, 15 out of 16 parts. And Krishna, 16 out of 16 in Vrindavan. So a little bit less, a little bit less. So they manifest a little bit less powers, etc., and qualities, etc., and also Shakti. The Shaktis are slightly different. So the forms in Dwarka do not experience what the forms in Vrindavan, the form of Krishna Vrindavan experiences. So it's explained that, I think this is in Sanat Kumara Samhita, that the Vrindavan form is complete, and he has everyone else in him, like he has all the Vishnu forms in him, he has the Dwarka form in him, he has the Mathura form in him, and he's also the Vrindavan form simultaneously. But then when he experiences in Vrindavan things, like the pastimes with Radha, even the forms in Mathura and Dwarka cannot experience those things, so they leave his body at that time, and then they come back afterwards. So, in this way, they're all actually one, but expand in different ways. So here we have expansions in Dwarka, and we have expansions in Vaikuntha, where we have Pradumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, and they expand into other forms till we get 24 forms manifested in different Vaikunthas. Each Vaikuntha planet has one of these forms, like Narasimha or Vamana, Adokshaja, etc., Hari, with their own planetary system, with different Shankha Chakra in different order in their hands. So the origin of that is Vishnu. Vishnu expands, whose Vasudeva expands into 4 forms. So we have Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And of course, Sankarshan actually is Balaram. So we have Krishna and Balaram expanding into Vasudeva and Sankarshan. And here we have in Dwarka, Pradyumna and Aniruddha as the other expansions. So they will expand, and we can say, into the Chaturvyuha. But they're all one. But again, we can say the expansion because the higher forms manifest more qualities and the other ones less qualities. So we know that the Chaturvyuha basically are Vishnu forms. Vaikuntha forms, so they manifest Vaikuntha qualities. Whereas the Dwarka forms, like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, and Balaram, they manifest more qualities. This says Krishna and Vrindavan manifest most, so a little bit less in Mathura, a little bit less in Dwarka, but still more than the other forms. So therefore, we'll say the others are amsas of them. So we have Pradyumna and Aniruddha and Sankarshan and Vasudeva in Dwarka, and then their expansions or amsas are the forms in the Chaturvyuha who expand into the Vishnu forms all over the Vaikuntha. So that's how we understand this idea of expansion or plenary portions or whatever. We call plenary because plenary, what is the meaning of plenary? Anybody know? Plenary. No? It means full. Plenary expansion, full expansion. So that means he's full of God's powers. What happens is we get one form expanding into another form, a little bit less powers. That form expands into a little bit less powers, a little bit less powers, a little bit less powers, like that. We have Amsa and Amsa and Amsa and Amsa, like that. So an example of that, we have the Vishnu forms in Vaikuntha. Then Sankarshan expands into Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu expands into Garbhodaksha Vishnu, into Kshirodaksha Vishnu, and then we get, these are actually identified as Pradyumna and Aniruddha again. And then they're in charge of different aspects in the material world. Here it mentions Chitta as Vasudeva, and then we get Ahankara, I think it's Shankarshan, and then Pradyumna and Aniruddha are Manas and Buddhi and Manas. So they're kind of like the presiding deities in the material world of these elements. But apart from that, in the spiritual world, they are not associated with these material things at all. So here we have at the beginning of the story of this Kamadev. Actually, who's Kamadev? It's Krishna. We have the Kama Gayatri, which is all about Kamadev. So he's the original Kamadev. Krishna is. But we have a Kamadev in the material world who is a Devata, just as we have Indra and others in the material world. So we have a Devata called Kamadev who runs around with his arrows. He shoots arrows at people and then they fall in love. So he incites love in the material world. That is Kamadev. So once he had he tried to bewilder Lord Shiva, and Shiva in his anger burned him up with his angry glance. So in this way, he was without a body. So he's called Atanu, no body. Tanu means body. Atanu, no body. Disembodied. So he's there, but he doesn't have that physical body. So he wanted to get another body back. So what did he do? He merged into this Pradyumna. So often we will see that this takes place by the permission of the Lord, that Devatas can merge into the forms of different persons. We see that when Krishna appeared, he ordered the Devatas also to appear on earth before him. So it's explained that the Yadus appeared, who are the eternal associates of the Lord. So they're not really Devatas. But what happened is the Devatas merged into their bodies and participated in the pastimes when Krishna was here. And then when Krishna disappeared in Dwarka, then they all returned to the Devaloka and separated from those bodies. And the eternal forms of the associates of Krishna in Dwarka remained in Dwarka, but apricot. No one could see them. And then we have bodies left. They all fought with each other. And they destroyed each other and their bodies there. So those are just illusion bodies. But the actual Nityasiddha Yadus are still there in Dwarka. And the Devatas returned to their abodes at that time when this destruction took place. So this is a common thing, that the bodies of Devatas may merge into forms of the Lord or associates of the Lord. Another example of that is in, we have the story of the Vasu, Drona, and his wife Dara. They wanted to have the Lord as their son, so they performed bhakti very intensely to get the Lord as their son. And then Sukadeva says, then they became Nanda and Yasoda. And this was in answer to the question of Parikshit, how did Nanda and Yasoda get such an exalted position in Vrindavan where they can take care of Krishna and be his mother and father in a very intimate way? So in response to that, then this story is told. Drona and Dara, they meditated and worshipped and did austerities for a long time, and then they were born as Yasoda and Nanda. This looks like a contradiction because Yasoda and Nanda are the eternal parents of Krishna. How can jivas who are devatas do sadhana and attain that position? The position of Nanda and Yasoda cannot be attained by sadhana. No one can attain that position. But yet we see Sukadeva tells this story. So what does it mean? So, explanation of the acharyas like Vishnu Chakravarti is that Drona is a Vasu. There's 8 Vasus in the heavenly planets. Drona is one of them. So he's a Devata, a Jiva, with a material body. And he did his austerities and meditation on the Lord and became Nanda. How is it possible? So, yes, the Devata, he did his austerities and bhakti, and then the eternal Nanda and Yasoda manifested before Krishna appeared, and this Devata, the Vasu, Drona, along with his wife, merged into the body of Nanda and Yasoda and participated in the process. That way, they had their desire fulfilled. At the same time, Nanda and Yasoda are eternal. So they got the experience, this Devatas got the experience of being the mother and father due to their bhakti. At the same time, Nanda and Yasoda did not get in any way contaminated and fall into the material world with the material body. They remain as they are. So this merging takes place sometimes in the material world of forms with the Supreme Lord. Similarly, as I said, when Krishna appeared, then all the different avatars merged into his body, including Kshirodakshaya Vishnu and Gavardakshaya Vishnu. They merged into his body to participate in some would experience some of his pastimes. And also to illustrate that Krishna includes everyone. Why not? Because they're actually all one anyway. They're only one Bhagavan. So they're just different forms of the same thing. So actually Krishna has everybody in him. So just to illustrate that, they all merged into his body when he appeared on earth. So we have all of the different forms of the Lord, the avatars like Matsya and Kurma and Rama and Vishnu and Purusha avatars, everybody inside Krishna. So that Krishna at any time can display any of the powers of these forms. So he can act like, and it's described in Vrindavan, sometime he played, when he was a child, he played the pastimes, enacted the pastimes of Ramchandra. And they would act like, Ramchandra and the monkeys and Ravana in the forest with the cowherd voice. And so he was enacting Rama's Leela. Or sometime he would enact Nrsimha Leela, etc., etc. So he can do that because he is, everyone is included in him. At the same time, he's still supreme, and he has certain qualities that they can never experience and manifest on their own. And then, when Krishna disappeared, what happened? They all went back to their abodes. So Matsya went to his abode, Rama went to his abode, etc. And they all went to their abodes again and continued their pastimes like that. So, in this way, Krishna is very, very special, and everybody is within him, and he can manifest any of the qualities of any of the other forms at any time. So we should never think of these forms of the Lord as being separate entities. They're all one Bhagavan. So when we have here the sons of and the grandson of Krishna, we have Pradyumna and Aniruddha manifesting. They're actually forms of the Lord, but they manifest as his son and grandson at the same time. Huh? So in other words, the Lord has great powers by which he can do this, and it's no difficulty for him to do that. And it's not contradictory because he's all one. So this is what is explained in this purport there, that actually they are Bhagavan, they are the Supreme Lord himself, all these different forms, even though they appear differently, acting as son and grandson and whatever. So we should not become confused by this. At the same time, we should also understand that forms like Cupid are completely different, and these devatas are different. And that they may merge into the forms of the Lord, but it doesn't mean that they're equal at any time. They're still separate entities, but they merge in and they can experience something of the pastimes of that particular person. So therefore, we identify Pradyumna with Cupid, but actually he's quite different because he's Supreme Lord, whereas the other Cupid is a material living entity, a certain devata. So they're not actually one, even though they may participate in them. Cupid may participate in the pastimes with Pradyumna, etc. So this is the you can say the background of this story. In this way, we see that Pradyumna manifests certain qualities in this pastime, and later on it's described that he was very beautiful, and so beautiful that the queens thought he was Krishna at one time. They were very confused when he returned. He disappeared for some time, and then he came back. He was kidnapped or whatever. So had very wonderful qualities, since he also was the son of Krishna, but at the same time he was also the Supreme Lord himself. So therefore, the Lord can manifest these wonderful qualities in his expansions without difficulty at all. And why does he do this? He does this for Leela, for pastimes, for variety within the spiritual world and within Dwarka and Mathura and in Vrindavan. These different forms are there to create variety within the pastimes. And simultaneously, we have interaction with demons. When demons get killed, and the forms of the Lord are his expansions in the form of Aniruddha and Pradyumna, they will fight with the demons and defeat demons, etc. So all of this is pastime of the Supreme Lord to fulfill his purpose. What is his purpose? It's twofold. One is Leela, just pastimes of the Lord which go on in the spiritual world. The other is fulfill the order of the devatas and suppress the demons, kill the demons, whatever, whoever they may be, and restore the yadus to their position, install the proper system of dharma, as he does in the case of Yudhisthira and his brothers, and in this way he fulfills that prediction that, as in Bhagavad Gita, whenever there is too much of dharma, then the Lord comes in and restores dharma, and he protects the devotees, and he annihilates the demons. So that's what we call the external purpose of the Lord's pastimes. There's an immediate cause. The devata is going to the milk ocean and praying to Vishnu, please save us from Kamsa. That's the external cause. Internal cause is all an expression of the ananda of the Lord. It's not even, I will do this to get ananda. It's simply an expression of ananda. There's no cause and effect at all, because the Lord's very nature is ananda or bliss. And because his nature is bliss, he must express that ananda. So he does that through expansions. He does that through his shaktis, like Radha, etc., which are also expansions. He does that through jivas. So he has all these Nityasiddha jivas, the yadus. He has all the Nityasiddha jivas in Vrindavan with the cowherd boys and the gopis and elders, etc. So there's jivas involved. There is forms of the Supreme Lord involved. In Vrindavan we have Krishna and Balaram, two forms of the Lord. And in Dwarka, we have here we get Pradyumna and Aniruddha forms of the Lord manifesting also besides Krishna and Balaram. So, and then they relate to each other. They have different relationships, and they perform different pastimes together. We have pastimes between Krishna and Balaram, between Krishna and Pradyumna, and Krishna and Aniruddha, all to express bliss. And then we have pastimes interacting with the Shaktis of the Lord. So we have the Shakti in Vrindavan, Radha. And then we get the other persons like the intimate gopis, or we get the queens in Dwarka. And then we get the jivas, the Nitya-siddha jivas. And then we get the sadhana-siddha jivas also participating in the pastimes. So in Vrindavan we get the sages of Dandakaranya who became gopis. And we get the personified Vedas who became gopis also. So we get even sadhana-siddha gopis participating in the pastimes as well. And that, again, expression of Ananda of the Lord. So the highest expression of Ananda is the Rasa Leela. And that is why Lord Chaitanya points out to the Sri Vaishnavas in Ranganath that why Lakshmi could not participate, even though she had great desire to participate in the Rasa Leela. Why she wanted to participate? Because it's the greatest bliss. Why she couldn't do so? Because she wasn't born in Vrindavan. She didn't have a gopi body. It's different. So that indicates that Vishnu and Lakshmi, even though they're equivalent to Radha and Krishna, they manifest less qualities, so they cannot have the same Ananda and the same bliss, etc. So that was the highest point of bliss, and Lakshmi got very attracted to that, but she couldn't enter it because she had the wrong body. So in that Rasa Leela, it's explained there were 3 billion gopis. Why 3 billion? Why so many people necessary? Because bliss. Krishna desired to express his bliss with all these different Nitya-siddhas and sadhana-siddha jivas. And they became blissful because he expanded himself into 3 billion forms. And each one was personally with him. Very, very intimate. And in this way, bliss was expressed by Krishna in relation to the sadhana-siddha and Nitya-siddha jivas. And then, consequently, that display is an inspiration for later devotees. So in the whole, the Bhagavatam, the 5 chapters in the Rasa Leela are considered to be the center of the whole Bhagavatam. And of course it's 10th canto, but the whole Bhagavatam, those 5 chapters, highest point of the Bhagavatam. Why? Because it's the highest bliss of Krishna. So Krishna's ultimate goal is bliss. And therefore we have these various expansions. So here we have an expansion in Dwarka. Krishna expands himself into these other forms, plus we got the expansion of the Yadus, etc. And with them he expresses his bliss in different pastimes.
You are saying that when Krishna, when sweetness, when the personal sweetness take place in Vrindavan, Dwaraka Krishna and Mathura Krishna leave the body. They don't stay with the Krishna, the Vrindavan Krishna. Yeah. Could you explain a little bit more?
Well, in other words, the Dwarka Krishna is Purna. So he can also experience Madhurya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Dasya Rasa, but he experiences Madhurya Rasa with the queens of Dwarka. The queens of Dwarka and Krishna, they experience a certain level of rasa. So they get through raga and anuraga, but not mahabhava. In Vrindavan, Krishna with the intimate gopis like Radha and her associates experiences mahabhava, and the gopis experience that. So they're different. So the form in Dwarka is different from the form in Vrindavan. So the Vrindavan form is called Purnatama, most perfect. There's something there that is experienced by Krishna and the gopis that is not experienced by the Dwarka Krishna with the queens. Different. So then how can the Dwarka Krishna participate in the pastimes? He's a different identity with a different amount of bliss.
Can you say that the Dwaraka Krishna experienced till that Raga Anuraga, this Mahabhava cannot? Because the gopis, the queens, they don't have Mahabhava.
Yeah.
That's why that Vrindavan Krishna don't go there.
Yeah.
Can you say that? In that
Well,
way?
yeah. They see Krishna as Supreme Lord also, Aishwarya mode. So that restricts their Madhurya Rasa and becomes less intense than that in Vrindavan.
Another question is, Maharaj, like merging the different demigods in the with Yodus and as well as you're saying that Dwaraka, Dwara as well as Pradumna. So when they merge in the body, do they maintain individuality or they just experience the bliss? That's all.
They want?
They just experience the bliss. That's all. Or do they do some separate activities?
No, they can't do any separate activities because they're in that body and experience in that body only. So they can't operate on their own. They're subservient to that main form and his activities, and they can experience it, but they can't do anything on their own because they're jivas, and that's the Supreme Lord. So obviously they're secondary to him.
So same thing happened for like Panchavandava. There are also like a demigods, like same kind of thing, like on some demigods that merge in the body.
Yeah.
Same kind.
Yeah. Amsas of the demigods merged into them and participate in their pastimes also.
And I had that even in the Samba also, like Kartikeya.
Kartikeya.
Entered in the body of Samba.
Oh yeah, Krishna did a boon. He got a boon from Shiva. Kartikeya was born as Samba. Yeah. So Amsa again, we can say, to participate in his pastimes.